Right, we are just 1 day away from the launch of Vela Bay and Tengah Gardens, and it also means that it's going to be a lull season more or less all the way to Thomson View launch at the end of the year. For a start, I think let's not call this Thomson View anymore, shall we? They have actually given it a very, very nice name. It's going to be called Thomson Reserve. Very cool. I love it. One atas sounding development. I know for sure UOL will give it a different name, unlike some developers, like you name Normanton Park after Normanton Park, Chuan Park after Chuan Park. I don't know why they're so lazy, if you got what I mean. Anyway, along the way, we might touch a little bit about, I think it's called Lucerne Grand, which is right beside Lakeside MRT. And because every other parts of Singapore has gotten quite a fair bit of new developments in recent times, North Side, Central, South, East, but just hardly any West except Tengah Gardens, then this will definitely be interesting enough for the Westies to pay attention to. But that's not what we are here for today, because it's enough of launches. But what do we have to talk about? And that's my thoughts on what I think is going to happen for the year of 2026 and into 2027.
Disclaimer, whatever I share does not constitute financial advice. It is solely based on my opinion on what is right or wrong. So please do your own due diligence. If you're liking the content so far, please hit the like and subscribe button, as your simple gesture will help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. If you're interested to find out more about property-related matters, please find all the social media handles I am on, or you can just directly reach out to me on WhatsApp. Separately, I have also set up a Telegram group at the start of the year so that we can have a discussion that we as agents are not allowed to do so online, which is to talk shit. So if you are interested to get into a community that talks about everything under the sun about property, please scan the QR code, or for the boomers out there, I have pasted the link in my description. We're going to close the group invitation in probably a month or 2 times, so head over and I will see you there. Now back to the video.
Now, disclaimer, I'm someone who prefers that the property prices moves up moderately, even though I'm an agent and have some vested interest. But why do I hope that prices don't move up so much or so fast? Because even though it benefits the current, I'm worried about future generations. But there's a saying that goes like this: if you can't settle what's in front of you, then why bother about the future? That's why let's sort out what's in front of us, shall we? And this video aims to be as neutral as possible. Just take it that I'm not an agent, and I'm going to give you my unbiased take on what's happening at the moment and what I should come to expect for the rest of 2026 and even 2027, okay? This is based on my on-the-ground observations. And I will split it into 6 points that I will share with you. Point number 1, huge supply of HDB flats hitting the market, dragging HDB prices down, as a result affecting private property prices now. Now, this is the most common statement that I've seen in recent times, but my thoughts on this is very simple. These are all 100% facts, because there's going to be a huge amount of HDB's BTO that will hit MOP. But why is that? If you think about it, remember not too long ago, 2020 was COVID. There was a massive supply chain disruption, everything got delayed, and we literally had like a year and a half off on a lot of aspects of life. I really do miss that period of time. And also, of course, a lot of HDBs delayed key collection until 2021, 2022, if you can recall. So if there's many backlogs that kind of gets cleared in that 2 years, guess when do they cross that MOP period? 2026, 2027 and 2028 law. That explains why the influx of HDBs that will MOP. Now, even without the influx of such supply, the HDB prices currently is already experiencing its first drop in many, many years. Can you imagine this amount of supply that is going to come out to put even more pressure on prices? I'm sure there's a high chance HDB flat prices will stay flat or drop even more. But guess why I don't think it's going to be that big a deal? Meaning it won't pull the property prices down, because the HDBs, even if it sells at the price that is deemed flat, there's still an insane amount of liquidity in this asset class. But I like to use this example of a recent HDB upgrader residing in Bukit Batok. You would think that the HDB prices there, or the flat prices there, isn't that great, and he's probably limited to a cluster of properties in and around the neighborhood to upgrade to. But you want to make a guess how much comes back to him after he sells it. I'll split it into 2 numbers. Number 1, profit. He bought it close to 400k. It's a 5-room flat. Now it's about $850,000. Means on surface level, you're making around 450k without taking into account all the other expenses like town council fees, interest rate, renovation, blah blah blah. However, the reality is that his loan is about 250k 800k left, which brings me to point number 2, the proceeds. After they sell it at 850k, he's taking back close to 600k in proceeds. Of course, it's almost certainly won't be like full cash, but maybe in a ratio of like 70% cash, 30% CPF. But it doesn't matter because what goes in can come out again for the next purchase. Also, don't forget, this is the OCR region. Now, just to give you a context of what 600k can do, it covers your down payment of up to like $2.1 million, assuming your income qualifies for the range too. And I have repeatedly mentioned that the middle income people that I see are easily bringing like $15,000, $20,000 collectively. So when loan is not an issue, down payment is not an issue, it makes upgrading a more feasible option. So even if I take away 40-50k because your HDB price drop or whatever it is, it doesn't take away the fact that this group of people are still like taking 550k instead of 600k, because that is still pretty much very affordable for them. And if anything, it's just like reducing their budget for the next purchase to be like 200k or so. And this is also the scenario of them keeping their exposure to property the same as before, like remaining status quo. Meaning they don't touch a single cent of their savings. If they choose to use a bit more savings to play around, then the number goes up easily. So that's my honest take on this HDB oversupply issue. I believe HDB prices will come down, but people are still flushed with liquid. They may take a bit longer to sell, but when they do sell, they can still upgrade comfortably. Then it's really a matter of whether they want or they don't want. Point number 2, higher land costs. Now, this almost certainly leads to higher prices in time to come. And mind you, higher prices in land bids is just a consequence of high volume in bids. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, you notice that every single GLS is being contested by no less than 4 developers. Some is like 6, 7, 8 bids. Now, the higher prices is precisely the result of higher demand for lands, because the amount of bids equates to demand. When there's more developers participating, the higher they would want to bid to secure the land. And 1 year ago, when I did a video talking about why the 80 to 90% sell out and new launches will affect us, it's finally happening. Developers are running out of lands, and since their bread and butter is easy to understand, you buy land, you sell at a profit, rinse and repeat, then this whole equation doesn't work if you have no lands to sell your units. That's why you can see the likes of like Sim Lim, Kingsford, UOL, the big boys participating very actively. They are very hungry for lands, and it doesn't really help that the first half 2026 government land sales exercise kind of saw a drop in supply, and all this is a perfect storm for them to go in aggressively for almost all land sales. And the price shows, right? So yeah, price higher on its own means nothing. It's just a consequence of like high demand. And of course, this is the clearest indicator for future pricing. I know some developers still can buy something and lose money on it, but they don't usually do that. I've never seen that ever in my career, close to 16 years. With the exception of some like boutique developments that might have gone under the radar. Lentor Central GLS, 2007, 3,000 per square foot. Bedok Rise, 2006 to 3,000. Dover, RCR, 3,000 to 3,005. Tanjung Ru, 2008 to 3,002. Hougang one, easily about 2.5 to 2.9 per square foot, and then the Chuan Grove one at the end of this year maybe like 2.6 to maybe 3,000 PSF. These are all not estimates. These are numbers we should come to expect when I put a low profit margin of like 20% on these land bids. Now, when the land cost goes up like this, hence the slogan rising tide rises all boats. What happened? Of course, rich properties will still be rich properties, and good properties will still be good properties, but the entire benchmark will just rise if the land cost continues to rise. Now, even for the resale market, for example, like 3 bedrooms around the $1.3 to $1.4 million range is like the lowest hanging fruit at the moment. I won't be surprised to see this number hitting like $1.5 to $1.6 million easily in the next 2 to 3 years. It's a similar scenario like when we look back 3 to 4 years ago and we had like 3 bedrooms selling at the $900k to $1 million range. There's no such price anymore. And it's almost certainly going to be no such price anymore in the tune of 1.3, 1.4, I feel, in the next 2 to 3 years. I dare to leave this video here till we meet again in 2028 to see if this ages well or I'm just like making a fool of myself. Because new launch will always be a leader in price. It's never meant to match resale prices because it's always forward pricing. When this forward pricing ceiling starts to increase, it's only normal for sellers to adjust their price upwards to like narrow the gap and for consumers to find value in the resale market even if you are just paying slightly above last transaction because it will still look cheap comparatively to the new developments. And this point number 2 is the best thing you're gonna get to, or the closest you're gonna get to owning a crystal ball. Basically, my point number 3, the Enbloc Fever might be back. And this has very close relations to point number 2. When there's plenty of participation on developers and bidding for the land parcels, resulting in an increase in price as they try to like squeeze out one another, when the government land sale supplies drop while demand picks up again due to every launch like selling out like 80-90%, I told you guys already, developers might need to turn to other avenues to replenish land bank. And it won't come to me as a surprise if the en bloc market picks up. Okay, Loyang Valley is the latest development that managed to pull this off. But you know something, this en bloc market is pretty cyclical, right? There's always a season for it. 2 to 3 years ago, when there was a huge supply in the market where developers are more focused on clearing their existing inventories, it was always going to be challenging for the en bloc market to move. That's why I think based on this current market condition, it's really like the perfect storm. Right? Government land sales supplies drops, demand is higher than ever. If there's any sales committee or owners out there watching this video and you're unsure, they always say, we hope to go through en bloc if all the stars are aligned. But the stars and the moon now are all aligned, in my opinion. And if the development you are in is in a half-decent location and you manage to push it through within this year itself, I think it's confirmed good game already. Confirmed sure to one. City Plaza, I think it will almost certainly go through. Bringing it back 1-2 years ago, I doubt it's gonna go, but until that is done, I'm not gonna jinx it just yet. Just hopefully they get a good price that is above reserve value. But the bigger problem that compounds this rising price comes here. Okay? Owners looking for replacement homes after en bloc. Okay, you need to understand that in a government land sales, the vendor is the government, right? All the money goes straight into our reserve and it's like sealed shut. But en bloc, it's a little bit different, right? En bloc money goes to the pockets of every single owner. And I won't say that 100% of them will recycle the money, but at least like 50-60% of them will look to buy something either for own use or elsewhere for God knows what reason. They may even buy a HDB eventually after 15 months. Who knows? Then theoretically, this $500 million, $700 million, $1 billion that the collective sales achieves gets recycled back into the market, which is going to spur what? It's going to spur more demand. So being someone who hopes that the prices stabilizes as much as possible, I hope the en bloc doesn't get too crazy. Otherwise, bro, it's really going to be harder for prices to come off or at least slow down. Again, let's see if this ages well or not, but I have a hunch that any en bloc sites that is like half decent now will get stepped up in the coming year or so. It is not that hard to predict. So all the best, or not if you're hoping for prices to come down. Point number 4, the Middle East war. This to me, my friends, is the biggest obstacle moving forward. Again, I'm not an economist, but I'm going to use my simple logic on what this means for our property market. In a very neutral manner, this can be the biggest push for our prices to come down. There's no sugarcoating it. If there's a massive job loss, then we will not be spared in any shape or form. People will not be able to finance their properties, people will not be able to upgrade, people will forced to sell their homes. Now, when that happens, it to me depends very much on government policies to potentially tide us through. And because a lot of people are obsessed with property only after COVID. But I want to go back to something that happened in 2020 that gives me the confidence that the government can step in to help people tide through if the situation becomes a bit too dire. They allow a deferment of installment, both principal and interest, or either or, for about 6 months. Meaning the idea of people being forced to sell back in 2020 due to job losses were kind of like mitigated by this policy. That to me was a kind of like a masterstroke. Meaning allows people to continue to stay in their house, financing their places or properties until the situation improves. And this is the very reason why I think we avoided a very drastic drop back in 2020. Without that, a lot of people would have built up. Now imagine my rental unit back then, I opt out of like paying installments, then the rental that comes in kind of builds in a safety net in a way that when I resume paying my installment and at a higher number, the surplus would be able to tide me through years. You got think about that before? Then again, we cannot always expect government to step in to help in this manner, but for them to do that previously shows a lot about them being on the alert to help us whenever necessary. And whether this war will last a couple of weeks, months, or even years is something unknown. Okay, if it's going to drag out much longer than usual. My concern is really on rising energy costs. It will have a massive impact and it affects every single person, right? Even if you're living like half a globe away, your food price is gonna increase, your material cost is gonna rise, your Grab fees also will go up, your deliveries are gonna increase, okay? All this increase in oil prices are only gonna force the vendors to pass the cost down to who? Consumer lah. And that will push inflation upwards too. And when inflation goes up, a lot of people are like trying not to park money in the bank itself as the value of it quickly erodes. Now the safe haven that this group of people tend to diversify back to is usually like brick and mortar, something that is tangible. So money might come back into the real estate as people park their money to safer assets. That's my concern, and I stand corrected. Also, the longer the war continues to drag out, the higher chance the money will flow out of the Middle East. One thing I know for sure in recent years is that there are a lot of people who are in Singapore that has moved to the Middle East and specifically Dubai due to more like favorable tax incentive. Now, that has changed drastically overnight. And according to credible sources, there are really a lot of business and people looking to get out of the country, but getting out itself is also a pain due to the airlines docking flights traveling to and fro from the region. And based on my past experience, business and individuals tend to favor business hubs and countries with political stability. And with this war breaking out in this manner, you can imagine the fear in the region. That is not a good thing, and I think Singapore and a couple of countries will benefit from this. If what I heard is true, then there's going to be plenty of business and money coming back to us now. Now, when there's more business shifting their operations, it means there'll be more people coming in, which also means very simple. If our land is only that small and it's being occupied like say 6 people in a small little square. Now this square is being squeezed now by 8 to 10 people. Will the cost of the land increase or it will be cheaper? You think about it. And don't forget, our government in our recent budget has also mentioned openly that they will bring in close to or up to 150k new citizens in the next 5 years to combat the fertility issue in Singapore. Same logic again. More people squeezing in a place or land that is only that big, will things become more expensive? The things don't get cheaper, bro. Okay, more expats renting, more PR buying, more citizens buying, aka more demand. Point number 5, stock markets and cryptocurrency. The US equities are at an all-time high now. The cryptos has also really made a lot of millionaires in recent times. This one I don't need to further elaborate. A lot of people I noticed are also diversifying quite some bit out of their equities position and portfolio to like more physical assets like real estate, gold, so on and so forth. Even they themselves also think that the stock market is a little bit overheated. That's why. So if you think hard about it, equities overpriced, crypto risky, real estate overpriced, then what do? They don't care lah. Because how can they time the market? Most importantly is to stay invested. But this point really very easy to understand. And it has a lot to do with our next point. So the correlation is very tight. And this point number 6, I call it the BOP. Not sure if you have heard of this before. Now there's this new local bank in recent times that has been quite active. We call it the BOP. Have you heard about it before? Because this bank offers one of the best interest rates around at 0% interest rate. But not everyone can join in, or not everyone's entitled to it. But what does this BOP stand for, right? It stands for the Bank of Parents. You heard it right. Father, mother supporting, not a real bank now. Okay? You don't cuckoo but go ask around now. People will laugh at you. But you are really getting a lot of cases where the parents are giving their kids a good push to buy their first property, sponsoring them their down payments, helping out with their loan eligibility, so on and so forth. I attribute that to our previous point. A lot of them has benefited tremendously from a bull run in the equities market. Now, with a little bit more money lying around, what better way than to park the money with their kids, investing in their name, be it for their own good or the kids' own benefit. Of course, that's a separate debate altogether. But trust me guys, I have been getting a lot of such cases, parents buying on behalf of the kids, funding the purchase. I can tell you it's a lot, right? I don't bluff you one, it's a lot. Okay. In conclusion, these 6 points that I have listed gives me a very clear picture of what I should come to expect of like 2026 and a little bit of 2027. Again, I'm not being biased, I'm trying to be as neutral as I can. I have addressed the elephant in the room. the fallout of this war can be quite detrimental to our property market. That's the only banana skin I feel that can happen at this moment. We are not immune to a massive job loss, guys. I know a lot of agents will tell you otherwise, but just exercise some common sense, okay? The shit can get real. Other than that, as much as I try to stay pessimistic and looking from every angle with our on-the-ground observations, things are not gonna get any cheaper. And surprisingly, even though our prices are at an all-time high, for the first time, I feel that I don't really need to second guess so much on what's about to happen. The war issue might affect us, but on the flip side, I also believe that our governments have the foresight to guide us along the right path. And our property market is reflective of that. The efforts to make it right and things become more and more expensive, I get it, but I always feel that that comes with a country growing into a powerhouse. There's no two ways around it. And what really scares me is really the land cost. The higher level of participation in the land bid scares me even further, because if the amount of bidders slows down, I know the prices will eventually come down in terms of land cost. The activity is just, however, only picking up. And that worries me. I'm afraid the en bloc market will reignite. When that happens, the problem will worsen. So your position here should be very simple. Just stay invested, don't try to time the market, because this property will always be rich properties, and then good properties will always hold value. You buy something that is within your comfort level, do not overstretch in the market like we are in right now, because you really do not know what might happen. Create an additional safety net in case the fall of the war gets bigger. Of course, adopt a longer term approach and just buy safer. So long as Singapore continues to grow, your investments will grow. Unless again you buy stuff, then that one God also cannot help you.